Well, that's the crux of the problem. In 100 seconds, set to music. We're joined now by a founder of the Greek Politics Specialist Group and author, Roman Gerodimos. Thank you very much for speaking to us here on Sky News this afternoon about this. Given the fact that it seems to be crunch talks today and the huge gap that's between Greece and Germany in particular, how optimistic are you of there being some kind of deal reached today?
Well, it seems that we are approaching the end game of this phase of the negotiations. Greece and Germany have locked into positions in terms of their demands. There seems to be a fundamental difference. The Greek government, Mr. Tsipras, argues that he was elected on a mandate to stop the existing bailout agreement. The German finance minister, Mr. Schäuble, says that that's not even on the table, so he doesn't even think that there is a negotiation going on at all. We will see how it goes. There was an important meeting yesterday of the Euro Working Group, the preparatory group for the finance ministers for today. That seemed to have gone well. There are some signs of movement, but it will be very difficult for either side to back down. Right? Obviously, there's a much more fundamental philosophical difference behind that, which is about the future of the Eurozone, the austerity measures, and so on.
Yeah, talk to us about the new government. They only came into power at the end of January and they were elected on this anti-austerity ticket. So they don't want to be seen to be losing face in amongst the Greek voters and be accused of betraying them. But do you think their stance is actually doing more harm than good to the country's cause?
I think the new government was elected almost 4 weeks ago, and they had a huge political capital. They had quite a lot of negotiating capital with the lenders. They had a certain amount of goodwill with EU partners. I think it was a mistake to focus on the existing program, which was going to end anyway within a few days or weeks or even a few months. The existing program won't save or won't destroy Greece, even more so than it has saved or destroyed Greece over the last 5 years. Really, what they should be focusing on, what they should have focused on, is not the title or the conditions of the existing program, but really the discussion about the important issues to do with the architecture of the Eurozone, the direction of austerity measures or growth and investment in Europe. And I think had they done that, and if they do that now, they will find a lot of powerful allies within the European Union. But while it seems that they're trying to basically not keep their side of the deal, that is not doing them any favors.
And we're just looking at pictures of Angela Merkel and François Hollande meeting there in Brussels today, because Germany isn't the only country that's unhappy with Greece and its demands and its requests for an extension outside the set terms of the original deal. For the Eurozone to compromise, you have to ask what kind of signal would it send to anti-austerity movements in countries like Spain, Portugal, Cyprus? They'll be saying, well, why can Greece get away with it where we couldn't?
I think that's correct in terms of the negotiating position, which is why it's very difficult. It's also very difficult for Germany to seem to be backing down, because that would send, in their perspective, the wrong message. But having said that, there are legitimate questions to ask about the impact of the measures. I mean, the thing is, austerity is a catch-all term. Austerity is fiscal discipline, it's tax and spend, it's all these things that have to do with how much money the state has. And Germany has been very insistent on that, and obviously Greece has to get its act together, and it has done. It has surplus, but the question is, austerity is also various other things to do with public sector reform and pensions and privatizations. And the problem is that the Greek government so far hasn't produced sort of a progressive plan, a viable plan for the future. So we need to break down that catch-all term of austerity, and while definitely Greece needs to have a viable fiscal plan, maybe some of the harsher measures haven't been very productive so far and need to be rethinked across Europe, actually.
It doesn't seem that any kind of agreement is being reached at the moment. If an agreement can't be reached, worst case scenario, and Greek does default on its debts, if it's effectively going to run out of cash next week. In practical terms, what does that mean for the Greek people?
I think we're going to enter an uncharted territory, not just in Greece, across the Eurozone. All sides, the Greeks, the Germans, the EU partners, the lenders, everybody has categorically, from the beginning, said that Greece should remain in the Eurozone. What's maybe changed in the last couple of weeks is that both sides are a bit less desperate to maintain that, i.e. they are not prepared to pay to maintain that at any cost. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I mean, I think it would be very, very dangerous for the eurozone to have Greece leave the eurozone. It would send a very, very bad message of instability. It would harm its credibility. Obviously, it would be catastrophic for Greece. People, may have limitations in how much money they can draw from the banks. Certainly, the government would run out of money in a very short space of time. So it would be really bad for both of them. So I think the best thing to do is really stand back from the brink and think about the broader questions to do with what needs to happen in the next, not just in the next 5 or 10 days, but in the next 5 or 10 years.
Okay, Roman Gerodimos, interesting to get your point of view here on Sky News this morning. Thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.